If you're ever having a bad day in real life and you want a little bit of respite, then I guess you can follow along with today's video and hopefully you'll be able to cheer yourself up and hopefully you guys can work your way towards some of these things that really do brighten up your day, at least in some regards when you decide to play them. And that is the aim of today's video. We're going to be showing off some of the tanks that just put a smile on your face regardless of how much of a rubbish day that you may have had. And that is, of course, none other than the FE 4005 Stage 2, or alternatively the FE 215B 183, but for this one we are going to be looking at the FE 4005 Stage 2, and of course the bane of everyone's existence, the T92 HMC, because although it is a horrible class to play against, when you are the one dealing that damage to opponents, then it is quite nice to be the one that's bearing the force down onto the opponents as opposed to being the one getting ground down. And you know, everyone has those days where they come onto World of Tanks and they don't really want to be grinding out games in something like a Foch 155. You just want a bit more of a casual gameplay experience, and so that's where the FE 4005 comes in clutch. We'll get into some gameplay now, show off what these tanks can do and why they are just so fun and interesting ones that you can pick up within World of Tanks Modern Armour or console or whatever you want to call the game. Let's get into it. Now, as with a lot of the gameplay recently where we've been playing live, I cannot guarantee that this game is going to be perfect, and so I guess you'll see what it is like when you just don't care and you want to just jump in and not really have to worry too much and you're just doing it purely for fun, which I think is something that people miss within World of Tanks, because of course as you get kind of more experienced you want to always be doing the best game, you always want to be having the highest damage, and sometimes you kind of lose the track of just playing the game for fun, because often it kind of is like inversely proportional when you're first playing the game and you have a pretty mediocre result for at least more veteran players. You're ecstatic that maybe you've done 4,000 damage in a tier 10, but obviously as you get further along, although you can deal more damage and you should be more ecstatic, but when you reach things like 8k, sometimes you're always almost complaining, or at least not necessarily complaining, because I'm never going to complain at getting 8,000 damage, but you'll be like, oh, I could have got 10,000 if I didn't mess up, or I would have got more if I just didn't do that one thing in the game, when realistically you had a fantastic result. And that's something that I just wish people would kind of take hold of more, maybe focus less on just really trying to min-max the game, because sometimes that actually detracts away from just playing and having fun. But then again, you know, you do have to kind of do those things, and this is the moment at which we have fun. Pumping the i7 there, really didn't have to aim very much. We can put a nice 1057 damage roll straight into the upper plate of the i7, and he's now feeling a lot worse for wear. What we will do now, and because we are a little bit smart in the setup that we've used, of course we now have the ability to swap between rounds without costing our reload, which is something that not very many tanks have kind of or at least use for within World of Tanks. So that's something I do take advantage of in my FE 4005, and probably why I do enjoy it a little bit more than say a couple of people that decide not to take that. Is really crucial, to be honest. It just allows you a lot more versatility. You're able to do things that a lot of other people just aren't, because they just don't have that flexibility to swap between the rounds and get the extra little bit of damage, because although being only 300 more damage when you're hitting someone for 1450, yeah, it's a lot more fun than when you're hitting them for a lot less. So what we do, we'll swap around, we can put one into the Conqueror and 1644 damage come our way. Oh, what a lovely result. You see, that is why you load the Hesh rounds. Is it quite as good as what it used to be? No, but it definitely is a lot of fun when you do high roll, and that is exactly what we did in that scenario. Now, as far as this game, where can we go? We want to get more damage, of course. Well, we're going to go after that, and we can see that there is an enemy FE 4005. Is he going to come forward? Is he going to try and poke or get a little bit more damage? And is he going to be a bit too blasé in his approach forward? We've, of course, got a machine that doesn't know we're there. Unfortunately, we don't manage to actually pen him. Should have swapped back to my AP round. but not to worry, we are going to put a round into this FE 4005 as soon as we've reloaded, or at least I'm hoping to. You'll notice that we have got 3 marks on the barrel, and that's just because this was my go-to when you're just having a terrible day, as with the title of the video being when you're just having that bad day. You do always want to just try and have a little bit of fun, at least I do anyway on World of Tanks, because you know, it's not necessarily very fun when you're just getting penned by everyone in some of the heavies, or if you have a couple of terrible games and you just want to relax and play the game as it probably should be. I guess these are the sort of tanks that I do love doing it with. And so, yeah, that's kind of where I come from in terms of the game, and hopefully you will take this video, try and implement it into what you do, because at the end of the day, having fun is probably what you're always trying to aim towards. At least that's what I always try and aim towards. We may get taken out, but the Grillos may be up in that top left, top right hand corner, or could be straight ahead of us. Don't entirely know, but I'm sure we'll find out exactly where he is in a little bit. Obviously, we've picked up 4,773 damage, had absolutely no complaints with the amount of damage that we've done, but we could potentially get one more into the Grilla. Are we going to do it on the move? No, we're not, because the Type 5 finishes him off. Unfortunate for us, artillery is now just going off, probably going to ram whoever that is. Yes, he did, and of course, yeah, there we go, a nice decent damage game. You know, it's probably not enough to go up on your percent on marks, to be honest, at tier 10, but it does showcase what the tank can do, especially that hit on the Conqueror. That's exactly the moment that you want to play these high alpha damage TDs for when you're playing World of Tanks, so that's kind of what you're after. Obviously, we didn't come high up on our team, coming 5th for the highest amount of damage within the game as well, which is, you know, typical of when you're playing these tier 10 tank destroyers. You really do have to have those 8,000 damage games to come top, at least if there's tier 8s on your team, because you know how the matchmaker works in XP. Obviously, if you're in a lower tier and you're fighting up against the higher tiers, then you get more XP than if you were top tier fighting against the same tier. That's kind of how it works, or if you're fighting against lower tiers. But of course, I think it's always fun. These are the sort of tanks you want to be playing if you do want to just have that fun, and we'll get into one gameplay in the T92 in just a second. So following the theme of the video, of course, when you do have those days where you just can't be arsed, and you just want to not really have to pay much attention to World of Tanks, get your challenges done, of course jumping in one of the biggest guns within the game, and of course having the highest alpha damage within the game of 2,250 alpha. If you do manage to pen with HE, then yeah, I guess that is what the game is all about. And so what this game is hopefully going to be is a decent one to showcase what the tank is like, and even if it isn't, we're at least going to get some damage and get towards our challenges whilst we talk about some of the things about the class itself and whether it's actually balanced at all, or whether or not artillery is just broken. I'm probably in the broken class. I don't think it's overpowered, I just don't think it's very fair for the 90% of people that have to come up against it. It's fun when you one-shot other people. When you're being one-shots, it's absolutely not fun whatsoever, and it's not really that skill-based, is it anyway? So there we go, that's kind of my opinion on artillery. Shut down in about 3 seconds, but there we go. I guess that what I do enjoy about it though is the fact that I don't have to pay much attention. I can literally just be casually looking around the battlefield, going, oh, there's a Rheinmetall Panzerwagen. Oh, what have we got over here? We've got a Valor. Where can I pen him? Well, if we can manage to hit him on the engine deck, or if we pre-aim a spot where he's likely to be, if he's going to move up to this rock, we can put one round into him, bearing in mind if he's still there, which we hit him direct, 893 damage down the line, and there we go, very easy damage. Obviously we hit the turret of the tank, which meant we didn't do as much damage as we usually do with a direct hit of a T92, but that doesn't really matter too much because he's now on 500 health after being bombarded by, of course, every other artillery player in the game that is doing the exact same thing that I'm deciding to do. I think we must have a batch at 15558. No, we've got 2 of them. Absolutely fun for the enemy team. Anyway, The FV215B, or the tinderbox as I like to call it, there's a reason for that, is because obviously it gets set on fire every 5 seconds, and what we're going to be doing is hopefully doing that exact thing with the high module damage that the artillery tanks get, because obviously they have huge caliber guns, and so if you do manage to hit them anywhere close to where they're going to be, obviously if we can hit the engine deck, that's going to be perfect. Of course we miss by a country mile, meaning that now we have that nice 30-second reload. Of course, you know, with most tank classes, if you fully aim and miss, it's going to be super annoying, and it's going to be super painful, and then you're going to be annoyed. But with artillery, you kind of expect it, so it doesn't really matter if you miss, and half the time when you miss, you still get damage anyway, so it's not really that punishing, and it's very easy to play, so you don't have to, you know, worry too much about trying to deal with the most amount of damage in the class, because it's not really meant for that, although a lot of artillery players will say otherwise. But there we go. What we'll do now is, of course, just wait around. We're going to hopefully be able to deal some damage to the 50, who's now going to turn side on for us. Nope, he's going to give us the back, which we can hopefully hit. Nope, we don't. We just get the back of him, and even missing him, 650 damage down the line. Yeah, it's just ridiculous the amount of damage you can do for missing people. Didn't really think that that would ever be in World of Tanks, but here we are, back again with Wargaming's typical logic. But failing that, what we'll do is we'll go after this TD, who's sat behind the rock over here. Don't know what it is. Have no idea if he's on full health or not, but hopefully, since it's so close. Oh, it's a Foch 155. That really does not have armour. And definitely if he decides to come forward, which he has, and we've tracked him, come on, Batchat 155. No, he's reloaded, or isn't reloaded even. Anyway, we've got plenty more meat within this game, and although we haven't had the best game, we haven't had the best RNG, whatever you want to call it, but yeah, what we can do now is just try and get the last kind of scraps within the game. Whether or not we will be in a carry situation, we've got a particularly funny game clip later on of what happened in one of the previous games whilst recording this video. We did go a little bit off in after someone it came out quite funny, but here we are. Typical what we can do. Don't even have to actually hit the tank, we can just hit next to him. 560 damage, yeah, okay. Anyway, moving forward, we've got that FE215B we missed earlier, who is of course still on a fairly meaty chunk of hit points, and although he is currently RT safe, it doesn't really matter because we may potentially go in after him. He's going to go undetected in a little bit because there's no one spotting him anymore, and maybe if he crosses or at least moves forward, what we will do actually is go up into this rock so we can get a little bit of a shot on this guy. Obviously he's sat there on the bridge not doing anything. He's only just realised that there's a autoloader sat behind him pumping him, but sadly for him we have the back of him and we can put one round into him, and yes, 918 damage later, of course picking up that last bit of damage on him. What we can do now is, unfortunately for us, we're probably not going to survive this, but what we can do is hope that the enemy team don't come around that corner within the next 20 seconds, and if they do, it will most likely be curtains for us, but what we can do is hide behind here, give us a little bit of extra time if they do decide to come around that corner. Of course, Wargaming's typical physics just being an absolute nightmare here. Don't know why we're still moving even though we've been stationary. Hopefully they won't come from behind me, which they probably will do now that I've said it. But yeah, we've got the tank destroyer, the Jagdtiger, still left alive. Hopefully he won't be able to one-shot us and we'll be able to swing around and deal some damage back to him. Of course he's now been spotted, so we can turn around and go a little bit aggressive against him actually. We can just go full pelt at him, load the AP round, probably won't be able to take us out in one shot. Got the enemy Batchat, well, the friendly Batchat 155, who's probably going to pump him anyway with that autoloader. Probably may just get taken out by the Jagdtiger, don't really know. Projecto's still pumping him, but there we go, he's basically been taken out. Projecto will probably still reload before the Jagdtiger does, and we're going to try and auto aim. Whether or not we'll hit, don't know, but we'll try it at least. in this regard. Jagdtiger thinks he's funny. We don't think he's very funny. He's going to break that wall, at least in a second, in which case we can hopefully hit him with a direct shell. Don't know where he's going to crop up. Maybe we should just go off in. I think that'll probably be the more interesting thing to do. Whether or not that's the right decision, I don't know. Of course, we don't have pretty much any gun depression with this tank, which means that, yeah, it's a little bit dangerous to do so. What we can do, though, because the Jagdtiger is just an absolute... Do you know what? Bugger this. I'm bored. Weren't expecting that bad boy, were you? Anyway, that's artillery. That's why I find it fun. It's just one of those things that, you know, you're probably not going to come out top in some of those situations. So when you do, when you're 1 against 1 with the Jagdtiger there, you know, where it's just a toss-up about who fires first, essentially. That's what makes it fun. That's why I enjoy it. And if you come out top, that's kind of a good thing for me anyway. Of course, if you did enjoy this video, make sure to give it a like and, of course, subscribe if you aren't to stay up to date with the latest news and update videos, along with some of these gameplay and discussion videos. Obviously, let me know your opinion on artillery and, of course, the big guns and all of the various things that you do when you're having a bit of a bad day and all you want to do is just relax and play World of Tanks. Let me know which tanks you'd pick if you were going to just sit back, relax and not have to think. So there we go. That's today's video over and done with. I will join you back in tomorrow's video if you do want to watch that, and of course you can check out some of the older videos on screen right now. Other than that, I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day and a fantastic rest of your week, and I hope to see you in the next one. Goodbye. No. Oh, I'm a meme god.